Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Scott Brooks, and I am one of the trainers with Harvard Risk Management Corporation. And today we're going to be doing a training session on how to use Reference USA as a prospecting tool. It's a national database that most county libraries and city libraries have as a subscription. And as a member of that library, you should be able to have access to that database as well at no additional charge. And so what we're going to do is have you follow along. As you can see on my screen, I'm already logged in to Reference USA and ready to start showing you how to set your filters and your different data parameters so that you can find qualified businesses in your local area to prospect using Reference USA. Now, as I said in the beginning, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your local library and you're going to want to ask the reference department. That's some trouble I had when I first was looking for it. I called the library, asked them if they had a subscription to Reference USA, and the person I was talking to had no idea what it is that I was referring to. So I found out that if you ask for the reference department, they know exactly what it is, and they'll be able to tell you whether or not that library has a subscription to the Reference USA National Database for Businesses. And then the next thing you want to ask them is, can you access that as a member from home remotely? If you have that access like I do today, then that means you won't have to be down at the local library doing your research, maybe once a week, maybe every other week if you plan properly. And if you really get good at strategizing, you could probably minimize your time down at the library to maybe once or twice a month. So that being said, once you've gotten access to Reference USA, we're going to log in. This screen we're looking at right here is our login screen. And I'm going to click right here where it says US Businesses, and we're going to open this up. Now this first screen is the available databases that you can be searching. The US database, you can do a quick search, which is notified here by this tab. If you want to drive by a company, or you do drive down the freeway and you see a specific company name, this is a great place for you to be able to type in that company name and maybe what the city they're in, the state they're in, if you want to find out specific information about that company. But if I'm going to do a search for a group of qualified businesses in my area, I'm going to click on this tab here that says Custom Search. So I'm going to click on that there. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up another screen that's got a lot of different search parameters over here on the left-hand side for you to be able to choose from. Now, we're not going to use all of these. We're actually only going to use a few of them. The first thing I want you to do is go over here to where it says Geography, and we're going to click on the Geography drop-down. Now, one thing to mention here is if you live in a small, more rural community that has maybe only one or two zip codes, then you can search by the whole city. By that, like I live in a rural area outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, and this particular town has only one or two zip codes. And so that being said, I can click on city, whereas you might be prospecting in a city that's larger, like Charlotte, North Carolina, that has 50 or 60 different zip codes. And in that case, I suggest you use the zip code search here and search one zip code at a time to find qualified businesses. The other thing that helps you to do is to stay in a central location while you're working through that zip code, instead of driving all the way across town to see one business and then driving all the way across town the other way to see another company. So for the sake of this first search, we're going to click on city. And my particular city, I'm going to click the state. I actually live in South Carolina, just south of Charlotte. And you can see when I clicked on the state, it brought up a list of all the cities. The town where I'm going to be prospecting this week is Fort Mill, right here. And now it added it to my search field over here on the right. You can see that. Now, that's been established, and I'm going to go back to the left side, and now I'm going to click on business size, and then click on number of employees. The other option is sales volume, and we don't really care at this point what the sales volume is. we're going to click on number of employees, and now you're going to see that that's going to open up another, if you scroll down the page a little bit, it opens up another search category of the number of employees. Now, you and I both know that we need 5 enrollments or 5 memberships from a company to be a qualified group. So I know that some people say that you can start searching on groups that are 10 or more. And if you got a company that has 10 employees and you get to see all 10 of them, then chances are you will, in fact, get 5 of them to enroll in the membership, and you'll have a group. I've found a little bit more likely where if the company says they have 10, many times they only have 7, or when you go out and do the enrollment, only 6 or 7 show up for the enrollment meeting, and you end up going away not having a group. So what I'm going to do, and what I like to do, is I want to search companies that are 20 and up. If you're just starting out, you might want to stay right here in this sweet spot of 20 to 100 businesses. If you're getting a little more experienced, you might want to click on some of these larger groups down here. And I've been with the company quite a bit longer now. I'm going to search all the way up to the companies that are, any size in this particular city. I don't think there's any companies that have 5 or 10,000 employees, but it's funny, some of these big companies, you don't even know they're there. They're on back roads, tucked in some way. You can't even see them from the freeway. And so you see what it brought up over here was all the categories of number of employees. If I wanted to remove something from over here, you just click on it, it takes it off. And you could search from 20 to 250. And I'm going to add those other ones back on now. I was just wanting to show you how to take stuff off if you make a mistake. Now, we've got city and state and now number of employees. And then very important, click on this ownership tab right here. And we want to click on the headquarters branch tab. That's what I like to do. And you see it brought up this box down here towards the bottom of my screen. And I want to only prospect businesses, and you only want to prospect businesses that are either headquartered or are a single location in that area. Now, why do we want to do that? Because we don't want to be going into businesses that are franchised. We don't want to be going into businesses and spending a lot of time, companies that are subsidiaries of some other company whose headquarter is located somewhere else, and they don't make the decisions in that location. Now, this is not fail-proof, but it is going to be accurate to about 90% from what I've discovered, that if you click headquarters and single location, you're going to mostly be talking to businesses that actually the decisions are made at that location. Now, that's all of the searches that I use. What I'm going to do now is go up here to where it says view results. You can see that what it's showing right now is the record count of all 23 plus million businesses that are in the database in America. And if I click results based on the search criteria I've just set, you're going to see that it's going to come up and it's going to bring a list up now that says 136 results, or 136 businesses meet the criteria that I just set. Now that's wonderful, because that's going to keep me busy for the next 2 or 3 weeks going out and talking to these 136 businesses. And as you can see, it's got the company name, executive name, street address, city, state, zip, etc. Now, the next thing for you to do is we're going to look at this page. You can see that over here it says there's one of 6 pages, and we're on page 1. Very important. So when we're on page 1, we're going to click this block right here next to the left side of the company name. And what it did, when I clicked that box, you notice underneath it all the check marks appeared in the businesses underneath. I'm going to check them all. Now notice that I didn't filter any businesses out. We know that there's some business types that are better than others. You don't want to have restaurants in here. You don't want to have beauty salons and barbershops and haircutting places in here. You don't want to have, I don't prospect attorneys' offices. You don't want to have companies and types of businesses that have a very high turnover rate. You don't want to have grocery chains or franchises, because the decisions aren't going to be made there. And remember, I said earlier it's about 90% accurate, but sometimes those things will show up on your list. Like right here, you can see there's a Bojangles Famous Chicken. Now, you and I both know that's either a franchise or it's a corporately owned Bojangles chicken store. And I don't need that, so I can click it out, and now I'm not going to get the print results. And you can go through these if you want to and deselect businesses that you know are not types of businesses you're going to be prospecting. Like I see Captain Steve's, that's a seafood restaurant. I see Carmela's Pizza, good pizza by the way. We're going to click that out. We don't want that. And just looking down through here, I see some doctor's offices. I see some schools. I see some other things down here. This is a hair salon. I'm going to take that out. Now, you can either do this now or you can do it later after you print. In this case, we just did it now. Now I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to click print. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring up a screen that's going to ask me what is it I want to print. And I'm going to say I want to print not a summary, not a detail, but I'm going to print a custom report for these businesses. Notice that the top 3 categories of the available selections are already highlighted. It says location info here, and it's selected to print over here. It says industry profile here on the left, and industry profile shows up on the right. Business profile on the left and right. I also want to add 2 more categories to what I'm going to print. I'm going to click on business demographics, and I'll show you why in a minute. And I'm going to click on Management Directory. I like to have those 5 categories in my printed reports for each business. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click Preview. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a PDF of those first 25 businesses that are located on page 1 of this information that I just asked it to show me. Now look at my screen. What I've got here is a very nice printout that says Reference USA at the top, the name of the business, the city, state. It's got the location information. Look at this. It's got the name of the business, the address, the county, the metro area, the greater Charlotte area, phone number, website. It's got the SIC code description of the industry profile. We can see that this is a driving school. Go down further, there's no business profile. Sometimes there is and sometimes there not. It gives you a really great quick synopsis of what that business does that you can look at before you walk in or before you call. And then look down here where it says business demographics. We can see that there's 20 employees there. And it tells you all kinds of other, it's privately owned. There's all kinds of other information that shows up on this screen. Now if I scroll down just a little bit further, it's going to tell me the management directory. In this case, smaller business. It tells me that the owner's name is Matt Sizzler. Okay, so now I've got the name, the location, the city, state, zip, the number of employees. I know that it's privately owned. I know that that's the headquarters or single location office, and I know who the owner is. Now look at this. What this did was it printed a PDF of all the first 25 businesses. As I scroll down, here's the next one. All Nations Christian Academy. Name, address, phone number, 20 employees, and the name of the manager. Now the manager at a private school like this might be the HR director too, the finance coordinator. Let's scroll down a little further. This is the company called AME. AME, it's got phone numbers, website. These people, SIC code, they're contractors. What do they do? You look at the business profile. They specialize in heavy rigging, equipment installation, and plant. Look at this. They have 120 employees. Okay, it's a great business. Scroll down a little further. It turned into 2 pages, not just 1. And you can see there's an entire management directory that's going to print right here from the president to the HR executive. Larger companies like that, you probably will not be talking to the president or the owner. You most likely will be talking to the HR executive, and his name is Tom. And so now I've got a name to call on when I go out there. And so you can see all these other printouts are there and waiting for me to print. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down here on my screen, and I'm going to tell this to print to my computer. And then we're going to wait for it to print, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, I paused the video for a moment and I'm back. The printer has printed the 25 businesses that we were talking about. I just printed them in black and white. And I want you to notice something. I printed these on paper that has the 3-hole punch already in it. Now the reason I did that is because when I printed these out, the first page, it printed them out alphabetically. You could also sort them by zip code. You could sort them by street name. You could do a lot of different sorts right from your screen there. I'm going to go back just to show you what I'm talking about. And let's see. If you go back here to this where the list is and you click on any of these items in the headline up here that have the arrows, you can sort it by alphabetical here, company name, which is what my list is. You can sort it by street address, which is a good idea sometimes to do, because then you can hit all the businesses that are on the same street at the same time instead of going to one business here at the top and then another business across town and then come back to this business down the road when it gets to that letter of the alphabet. And so we got them all printed out the way you prefer, or the way I prefer, and I have them on three ring hole punch paper. And then what I've done, and I recommend you do, is to create a binder. Here's my binder for this particular town. It says Fort Mill, South Carolina. It's just a 3-ring, 1.5-inch binder that I've got labeled. And I'm going to put these 25 businesses in this binder. And what I'm going to do is then go back to the other pages of that report that we were looking at, that we generated those 136 businesses. And I'm going to go back to each of those pages and I'm going to select them and I'm going to print all of the 136 qualified businesses for this particular town. And then I won't need to be back in Reference USA for another 3 or 4 weeks until I get done actually prospecting all of those businesses. Now, just to show you how I'm going to do that, here we are back on page 1 again to your screen. And we've got 6 pages to print. So right now all of these are selected from that first print that we did. Now I'm going to click on this again and make sure they're all deselected on page 1, and I'm going to move then to page 2. So here's all the ones coming up on page 2 now, and I'm going to select them all by clicking the block, and they all are selected, and then I click print again. Custom, notice that all the fields, the first 5 are already filled in. Those are the 5 categories I always want on my printout lead sheets. And I'm going to click the preview button. And it's going to generate a PDF for those 25. Now, if you look down here on your screen, it says you can do up to 50 prints per search. And when I open this PDF for the second page, it's going to show me the next 25. And then I'm going to print those onto 3-ring binder paper, and I'm going to put those in my binder. Okay? And then I'm going to go back, hit my back arrow on this screen, and then I'm going to go and deselect all of those and go to page 3 and select them all and print page 3, 4, 5, and 6, etc. Okay? And then when I'm all finished, I'm going to have a nice, neat binder that's got all of my businesses. If you play around with the system, you can print an alphabetical directory like I put in the front here, sort of as my lead table of contents. And then you've got all your businesses in here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out, and when I go out prospecting and I collect business cards from decision makers, I'm going to staple those business cards right to this page right here. And so I keep them in my binder. I've got their business card, got notes maybe written on the back of the business card. I've got a place where I can make notes, put the date, who you talked to, left the present, left a mug, talked to so-and-so, follow up in 3 days. If you run out of space on the front, you can continue making your notes on the back and continue contacting them. And you've got a nice, neat place to keep all of your references. Now, remember that when you're out prospecting and you're collecting business cards, you're not going to see all the decision makers you want. You're going to be asking if they can do you a favor to the gatekeeper, and the favor is, can I leave my business card? And they're going to probably say, sure you can, and then you're going to ask if you can ask for another favor and ask for the business card of the person that handles the employee benefits decisions at that company and see if you can trade cards. Make sure you have the name, the contact number, try to get the extension so you can bypass the front desk reception gatekeeper in the future callbacks. And you're going to put their business card in there. Now you're only going to talk to maybe 20% at the most of decision makers in the lobby on the spot. And the way that conversation is going to go, we've got done in a lot of other training, but basically the conversation is, my name is Scott Brooks. I'm from Harvard Risk Management. We're the largest broker of identity theft protection plans in the nation. And I'd like to schedule an appointment with you, take about 15 minutes to show you the programs we have and show you how it can protect your business and your employees with the most sought after voluntary employee benefit program in the country right now, and see if it's a good fit for you. And that's basically the conversation. You let them off the hook. You let them know you didn't want to take all their time right then and there, and that you wanted to schedule a meeting with them for maybe next week, sometime next week, when you can come back and do that. Now, what about the other 80% of decision makers that you don't get to talk to in the lobby or in the office? You're going to have their business cards. You're going to have some information. I suggest that you follow up with those no later than the next day. Spend a half day in your office or a couple of hours in your office the next day following up on all the companies that you didn't get to talk to the day previously. Take good notes, keep good records, and get yourself organized so that you don't miss the opportunity. Then, the next day, you go back out in the field, and you don't go visit the same businesses you went to yesterday. You go back out in the field and visit the next group of businesses, 20 or 30 businesses on your list, and you collect business cards and you do the same thing again. Now, lastly, what I want to show you is going back to the search fields. I'm going to go up here and click Revise Search, because some of you might say, okay, well, I don't live in a rural town like that where I can select on the geography category, where it says city. You might need to pick a particular zip code. And so let's say, I'm not sure, let me go to my screen here and go to Google. And there's a town near me called Pineville, North Carolina. Let's find out what the zip code is there, 28134. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to type in a zip code, 28134. For searching just that zip code. And now all my other information is intact, 20 businesses and above, 20 employees or above, headquarters and single location. And for this particular city zip code, now I'm going to click View Results, and I can see that my search parameters for this search brings up 77 qualified businesses. And then you can go through here and weed out the ones that you know are restaurants or hair cutting places or things like that you don't want to print. Start printing your list, create a binder, or put some tabs in a binder. If you don't have a binder full, you can put a tab in here and have another zip code behind the area where you just put those. And that's how you use Reference USA and set your search parameters to find qualified businesses for prospecting. Now, the good news is this. These searches that I just showed you are for small rural communities. Let's take one last look, for example, of what I have available in the greater area where I live. Just for fun, let's click on the radius button. And I'm going to click on my address, my zip code here, 29715, where I live. And most salespeople are certainly willing to drive 45 to 55 minutes to get out to a sales call if they exhausted all of the other leads within them. But just for the sake of conversation, let's say I was willing to drive an hour so I could be home for dinner and be with my kids at night. And I said I'll drive within an hour of my zip code, so I put in 60-mile radius. Look it up below. All the parameters are still the same. And let's see how many businesses are qualified within 60 miles of where I live. Okay? It's doing the search, and it's going to bring up the totals. It's probably a much bigger search, obviously, because it's a lot of zip codes and a lot of areas. Large city here. And look at this, folks. My search has resulted in over 9,000 qualified businesses within 60 miles of my house. Now, let's just say that I could adequately prospect, 500 to 1,000 businesses a year. And when you start doing follow-up every day with businesses, you'll realize that that's a lot of businesses to prospect every year. And so 10,000 businesses, that might take one guy 10 years to prospect all those businesses. And in 10 years from now, how many new businesses would there be in place? And if I exhausted all of those businesses, I could get small business certified, and I could go back and revise my searches so that I change my business size now to small businesses, not these larger ones that I want to do employee benefits for. But let's say I devote some of my attention in building my business to selling small business plans, which if you're not small business certified, you need to spend the $100. Get small business certified because you can make a sale in many of the places you're doing group enrollments at. But let's say I just want to target the small businesses between 1 and 20 employees, and I want to go out and maybe approach them with a small business presentation. The commission on the small business plans, ladies and gentlemen, is phenomenal, and you really need to look into it. But let's say I want to target those businesses to talk to them about small business plans. Let's click on the results, and you're going to see there's going to be a lot of small businesses within 60 miles of where I live. 188,000 small businesses, more businesses than I could prospect in a lifetime. Okay. By then, I plan on being $1 million ring earner, and maybe making some more training videos to help a lot of other people to be successful in their career with Harvard Risk Management. My name is Scott Brooks, and it's been a pleasure to be able to train you today on how to use Reference USA. If you have any questions, you can email support@harvardbenefits.com. Send your questions there. Check out the advanced training videos. We've got some other advanced training in there on how to use Reference USA. But hopefully this short 30-minute training video will get you on your way to being successful at finding qualified businesses in your local area. Thanks and goodbye.